Good morning, I'm Phil from Inspiration Marine. We're here on November the 20th, which is coldest day of the year so far, and don't we know it? But it is bright and beautiful. Anyway, we're heading out with sailing today to do a boat test on the new Hanse 360. We've got about 10-12, maybe a little bit more wind, bright sunny day. We're going to be in the Solent just off Hamble Point. We have got Peter Poland on board, who is the tester for sailing today, an industry legend. We've got Elliot Blakely, who is the Inspiration Marine Hanse specialist, at the helm. And we've got me, who does the camera wielding. So we're just getting to the bottom of Hamble Point. So we've got Hamble Point buoy there. This is where we get to hoist the sails. So we have a slab reefed main, and we've got a roll furling self-tacking jib. The sails on this boat we'll have a look at in a minute, but they're the Elvstrom EXRP, which is the tri-radial laminate sails, which give us a little bit more performance, a little bit more control upwind. So we'll get the main up, set sail, and I'll turn the camera back on and we'll see how we get on. Okay, so we're underway. So we're windier than expected. We've got about somewhere between 18 and 19 knots of wind so far. We've gone for full sail, which is about as much as you'd want, mostly because we've got a boat coming out to do some photographs for the test. So right now we're sat there with full main, and you can get a look at the tri-radial nature of the cut of these Elvstrom sails. And then we've got the self-tacking jib up front. We're running it somewhere just over 7 knots at the moment, at about 35-36 degrees to the wind. So going extremely well. So the layout we've got here in the cockpit is the central cockpit table, which gives you the option to have this 12-inch chart plotter in the end of it. The 12-inch gives you a lot more visibility of what's going on, and you can see here we're in a fairly congested area with loads of AIS targets, and the Raymarine system flashes those in red if they're deemed to be dangerous. The fact that their tankers moored up should say more about our navigation than them. But we've got boat speed down here, so 6 to 7 knots of boat speed, speed over ground, speed through the water, lat and long. But you can configure this in various different ways to suit you. In terms of other page options, they also do a dashboard setup. So when that toggles through, I'm going to get given a choice of dashboards. The sailing one, which I've just selected, is really nice when you don't need the chart. So it'll give you your wind angle, apparent, true, speed through the water, and then if you set waypoints, it'll give you that data as well on this page, which is really useful. I go back to the chart. So. The other thing that's particularly nice about this table is you've got great big handholds here. You've got great big footrests down at the bottom. You can see from the winch positions that Elliot at the helm there has got both the main and the jib sheet on the winches right back at the helm positions, rather than the more kind of old-fashioned way of having the winches up here. And what that means is that people who are crewing in the cockpit and just sitting here kind of enjoying the ride, there's no restriction of having the winches up here, which works rather well. So one of the features that you'll find on every Hanse is the self-tacking jib. So it's sat there and you can see the traveller and the car across there. Elliot's about to tack, so I'll keep the video on here and you can see what happens. So that's the tack completed. I wasn't filming the cockpit, but there's nothing going on in the cockpit. You don't have to release the sheet on one side and pull it back in on the other side. It's all done up here. So the helm just concentrates on helming. And because of the sheeting system, the sheeting angle on the jib, as soon as you've gone through that tack, is exactly the same on the new tack as it is on the old tack. And therefore, you pick up your boat speed faster again. You get to sail closer to the wind when you're tacking. It's just a really clever system. So up here at the business end, we've got the Selden 200 series furlong, which is a good size and a good spec for this boat. You've got your composite bowsprit, which the anchor hangs underneath. If you're running a cruising chute or a Jenica, you're running off that eye right at the front. And the eye with the shackle that you can see halfway down the bowsprit, that's for a code 0, because the upward halyard loads are so much more. Really nice sound. Just looking at the side decks of the boat here, you've got this deep tow rail here, so moving back down the boat, especially when you've got a heel on in a wind like this with full main and full jib, you're really grateful of having that tow rail to shove your foot against. It's quite a lot deeper than I've seen on many other boats, and the outboard shrouds, not only does that give the rig a bit more stability and allow you to use slightly lighter equipment up there, which is great for the stability of the boat, it also means that access down through the side decks is nice and clear. This main sheet arrangement as well, they've done away with the main traveller deliberately to keep the cockpit nice and clear. And this clever system with the two Dyneema strops on the pad eyes, port and starboard, means that you get really good control over the main sheet, but without the inconvenience of the traveller, which is great for a cruising boat as well. So we've just gone inside for a minute whilst we're underway, and you can see Peter and Eliot are having a whale of a time back at the helm. The wind has backed off a little bit. It's about 14-15 now, so full main and jib feels really nice. Just going through a tack, so it'll get a bit noisy whilst the self-tacking car passes above us. So just shifted round onto a starboard tack, and I'm sat up on the starboard side. So sat down in the saloon. I'm just sat on the starboard side saloon bench. You get a lovely view out of here, and it kind of does away with the sat down in a cave type of feeling that you used to get on boats. So having those hull windows there, even though they're 3 or 4 inches deep, they're really good length, and it does mean that you get a really nice view sat down in the boat, which you wouldn't normally get on a boat. The other thing that strikes you straight away on a Hanse is you're sailing along, and there's a bit of chop here because we've got the ferries and the ships going by. There isn't a creak or a groan or a shuffle or anything. The boat is just silent, and the reason for that is that Hanse go to the trouble of laminating all of the bulkheads to the hull and the subframe. So we're just talking about the bulkheads because the way Hanse do it is considerably better than a lot of boat builders. Show you a buoy as we go past. one of the ways to do it is to drop the bulkhead into a groove in the floor plan of the boat, and then effectively trap it in place by putting the deck on. Now, that doesn't really add a lot of structural integrity to the hull form and how the boat's designed, and that seems like a silly thing to do. It does speed up the production, but Hanse will fully laminate every bulkhead that's in the boat. So in this case, you've got the bulkhead at the forward front of the owner's cabin, you've got the main bulkhead here, you've got the bulkhead that leads through to the aft cabin at the back of the galley there, and even this head's bulkhead here, that is laminated to the hull and the subframe wherever it meets it, and the amount of strength and stiffness that adds to the hull form is just unrivaled. And it costs a bit more money and it takes a bit more time, but it's one of those things that's really, really important to do. Obviously nav stations are getting less and less prevalent on boats these days, but this one works quite nicely, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'm sat here, yes, I'm facing backwards, and it certainly helps that we're on a port tack, but you've got a nice chart table here. That appears to fit a folio chart as well, which is rather good. Then you've got your fixed VHF, handheld VHF that you can take up into the cockpit, and you've got your heating control and your 12-volt switch panel and your 230-volt panel, which obviously isn't doing much for us at the moment, but that works really well. Yeah, really, really nice. And again, the wind's picked back up again. We've got a fair old heel on now, and she's again just silent as she goes along, and that's a real testament to the way they're built. If I can pick a bit of a fault, should really benefit from a handrail here as you're moving around the boat. So you can tell from the cooker the amount of heel we've got on at the moment, and to give you an idea, that's the view out of the companionway. So you get to the bottom of the companionway, and these two grab rails here work really nicely, and then you've got this fab one here on the end of the galley. But to actually go any further, you're then leaning against bits of furniture. So for me, a handrail probably here to help access the heads, and a handrail here, so when you're stood just operating the VHF or something, you've got somewhere for your hand there. Forward from there, it really doesn't matter, because you've got the table, you've got the big mast support. It really doesn't matter from there forward. But I think a couple of handrails here on the heads unit on the right hand side would be a really nice addition. Aside from that, galley's really nice and easy to use. Getting into this fridge drawer here is really nice and straightforward. And you've got a great big locker in here. It's currently holding all our fenders, etc. So yeah, the rest of the boat underway just operates really nicely. Just going through another tack now. So just loading up on starboard, and off we go. So this is good fun now. We're back in 17-18 knots of wind, a little bit further up Southampton water, and we've got the photo boat out.
20 knots now.
Looking chilly, but we're 20 knots now, Peter. Yeah. So if you're wondering what that is, that's a Fjord 41, which is built by the same yard as Hanse. So these sails are really coming into their own now. We're still full main, and as Peter just said, she really stands up to full main really well, especially when we're gusting 20 knots. The big advantage of these tri-radial laminate sails is that the tri-radial cut of it, and you can see that the panels radiate out through each corner, and what that allows the sailmaker to do is have more control over the shape of the sail. So they can make the sail a little bit flatter, move the draft a little bit further forward in the sail, and the nature of the sailcloth has a lot less stretch in it than a Dacron sail. So when the wind comes, the sail doesn't distort, the draft doesn't move back in the sail, it stays where it is. That means the boat doesn't heel over as much and just drives forward a bit more. So it's a cost option at about £5,000 or something like that to go from the basic cross-cut Dacron sail to these nice laminate sails. But the difference in terms of performance upwind, but also the comfort that you have whilst you're sailing in terms of lack of heel and things like that is great. So the view forward from under the spray hood where it's nice and warm is great as well. And what the self-tacker does is, because it's a small jib and a big main, where a normal Jeanneau would come back here and leave a blind spot there where you can see that that Bavaria 37 that we've just overtaken easily is, that blind spot doesn't exist. So from a cruising in close quarters point of view, having all that visibility and forward is a real boon. So finally Eliot's given up the helm. Let me have a go. We've got about 17 knots of wind at the moment. We're sailing up at 33 apparent, which feels like a nice sweet spot for it. We're doing 7.2 knots of wind, boat speed. And she's just sitting there at 7.1, 7.2. The helm, literally nothing on it. We have got the sails set beautifully now after a bit of fiddling. The telltales in the jib are sitting nicely, but yeah, I think it's fair to say that the designers have done a very nice job. Yeah, 7.2 still 30. Oh, we're up at 31 degrees now. I could probably pinch up to 30 without losing a lot of speed, but she's going so nicely I don't really want to change anything. So yeah, nice to get on the helm. Thanks, Eliot.